Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm just getting my find the window.
I don't know where my hat is. I think I'll just put my hair
I'm meanwhile trying to put my hair down, but on the right side of my
up.
head it looks. I'm
Hey,
gonna
Shmill. Hey, Nicole.
kind of call.
Hello.
Hey there.
Oh
Nicole,
no.
you're going to be waiting for a long while, but thanks for
Hi.
hopping.
All
Um,
good. Yeah, I don't mind. I'd like to hear his presentation anyway, so.
Good. I feel like since you're here, maybe we can just verbally connect about the breakout room
Mhm.
feedback approach.
Meanwhile, on the right. I figured out what's happening. I'm on YouTube and I was playing myself and watching it and talking and was like, why do I hear me? But 5 seconds ago. Breakout groups. Nicole, we talked about wanting to do hold on, kind of a opportunity for a closed session. And so our goal is that we're going to put you in a breakout group because you have unique knowledge about this topic. And a lot of people will probably want access to that. We're thinking that if we put everyone in the same breakout group, and it still achieves that kind of closed session goal, or we can split up. The facilitation of like the knowledge and the questions folks might have. How do you think you want to approach that? And then Ishmael, if you have any thoughts as well.
I, for lack of a better words at 4:47, I do not care. Whatever you guys want to do works for me.
Great. Is it gonna make me? Catherine, and here's Joy.
Miriam, do you think I could test the screen share for a second? Is that okay if I
Oh
like
yeah.
steal it for a second? Because I know that I've had issues sometimes, and so I just want to
Go right ahead.
do you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. I'll stop sharing. You can put that back up, but I just know that sometimes I've been having issues with Teams sharing, so I wanted to try it.
And Ariam and Ishmael, did you see this link for the
I should be in there. 1 second. Oh,
channel?
I'm just in the
I'm in the
connection
waiting.
window. I hadn't hit join
Okay.
now.
Just
Me.
checking, see if my stuff is working.
Hey,
Yep.
Troy.
Yep.
You can hear
All
you,
right.
Troy.
Hello.
And this, there we go. And screen sharing that.
All right, Ishmael, I think you're in.
Okay. Wonderful. I was looking for the note about the additional ISP meetings folks could attend, but the link in our shared docs, it sends me to a wall, an access.
Oh, that doesn't help. Let me see. Where did I put it in? Is it in the agenda? Where are you?
I thought you were going to put in the agenda. I'm looking at our note
that.
from our coordinating nation meeting that has the optional additional meetings. And then I thought it might have been one of the emails, but I think that
I
was
don't. Yeah, I think I threw it in an email and I think I forgot to put in the agenda, so that's a good flag.
I've printed my agenda now, so if there's something that needs to go like into a chat, if that's what you were hoping for, could you do that?
Can I put it in the, should I put it in the chat here?
Sorry, I meant like in the meeting when we sort of I have it on my list of like a
It's an announcement. So prior to the next EAG meeting, we want to make sure everybody hears this. The clean energy team is asking all EAG members to either attend or review the RPEG meeting that is later this week.
okay. I guess are you planning to share that or would you like me to share that?
I
know-
don't have like if you want to volley it to me, I can.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. I will do that and I'll do it at the top when I'm doing the round of announcements that I have as I'm welcoming folks.
Cool.
Is Jessica with us?
On the call?
Or is Jessica is with PSC? Is it?
Yes. Yeah. Jessica McColgan. Mhm.
So then we've got some members starting to join, and so gonna open our member room.
Oh, thanks. And Ariam, are you in the back channel?
I hit join, but it looks like it's timed out. So let me try again. Or it says someone will let me in.
Oh, I didn't see you. Can you try it again?
Again. I just have a bunch of windows. Things are hiding behind each other.
Jessica, yeah, you can go ahead and test your video works. You can test your audio too.
Like video is working and can you hear me okay? Testing, testing.
Yes, we can hear
Great.
you.
Thank you much. I'll go back off.
How about now?
It's
Here,
giving me a weird. No, what? That's
okay.
not right.
This was the one in the
Um,
invite. Let me try the one in the chat that you
Do the
sent.
one in the chat. Dang. There you are. Cool. Do we have a PA coming tonight?
Person should.
Oh,
I hit the wrong button. Carson should be joining us. Let me triple check.
I just want to make sure I can get that on the back channel too.
Oh no. Nope, that's not right now. That's next month. Yes, they should be joining us. It looks.
Ishmael, one thing I wanted to be sure to say out loud. So my safety moment is going to be a remembrance for somebody. I think you saw that. So I'm planning to just end with, I have my notes and like the speaking notes. It'll end with something, it'll be kind of a pretty clear ending. And then I figured we would just go to silence and then we'll you just start everything back up, I think, when you think it's the right time. Does that work? Okay.
Sure.
Hey, Catherine.
Because we're 2 minutes ahead and now we've just now gotten our second member, it might be odd to put them in a hang for just 2 minutes. I might just let them into our room.
I think put them in a hang because we're just sitting here silently. I don't want them to feel awkward. You know, they might chat with each other,
Problem.
even if it's short, you know.
Hello, our EAG members. For a couple of minutes, we're gonna put you in a hang. Um, wow.
Okay. Should we do it?
Let's do it.
Okay, we'll bring everyone back and I'll switch the screen. Thank you, Ariam.
Mhm. And
Great. Everyone, good evening. Hi, folks. Excellent. Okay, looks like we've got a good little wave of folks joining. Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for being here. It is our February Equity Advisory Group meeting. I can see a couple folks from the team here and the group, and so yeah, welcome. Glad to have you here. Hope you've been enjoying much of the what at least felt like to the body and skin and mind is lovely weather for much of the past couple of days, and glad to have you here again with us this evening. So we will start as per custom with a couple of our sort of opening moments and some sort of housekeeping announcements. And so I'm going to, yeah, Marcus said spring is in the air. It's weird. It's like it shouldn't be in the air, but it is. And I don't know what that means for like birds and bees and stuff, but I feel good. So it's a tension, it's a conflict. But anyways, spring is in the air, strangely. So as mentioned, I am going to kick it over to M to begin with this evening's safety moment, and we'll go from there. So M, please.
Thanks, Ishmael. You can go to the next slide. Kind of a somber topic today. I want to take a moment to honor Ivan Garcia. Ivan was an apprentice line worker who next month would have become a journeyman lineman, but a few weeks ago, Ivan tragically lost his life while on the job working for a utility infrastructure project for a local utility in central Washington. And while this didn't happen at PSE, this tragedy reminds us why we begin every meeting talking about safety. You know, many of us here work behind the scenes most of the time, but we're all part of a critical regional service. At its core, our industry provides an essential service that people depend on for their health, for their safety, their well-being, and Ivan and thousands like him put their lives on the line every day to provide us reliable energy. So I want to mention that the IBEW has set up a fundraiser on their website for Ivan's family. He's remembered by his parents, Isaac and Teresa, his siblings, Alonso, Yesenia, and Alicia, and his girlfriend, Sophia. And today I just want to remember that behind every discussion of reliability and affordability and infrastructure needs are real people like Ivan, whose dedication and courage we all depend on.
Thank you, M. It is somber moment, as you said, but is very important. And so appreciate you honoring Ivan and taking this moment, safety moment, to honor him so publicly with us and for those watching. Great. Thank you, Em. Okay. So I see Elizabeth on the call. And Elizabeth, you have prepared today's equity moment. And so I know you've got a couple of slides I can hit next on, go to your first one, but I can hit next on your slides as you'd like me to.
Okay, this is not one of my slides. Okay. Thank you. For my equity moment, I want to briefly talk about leadership. The slides are very text heavy, so I'll summarize as best I can. Studies show that diversity in leadership can be correlated to organizational success, which can be seen across sectors and industries. Embracing and celebrating diversity within an organization all the way to its leadership levels trickles down to create an environment that is more efficient, effective, and fostering of growth through equitable treatment of staff. And we can go to the next slide. Having diverse leadership is not only important to organizational success, but to personal success as well. When youth see a diversity in leadership, and for some, a leader that looks like them, it creates a wonderful effect where they are more likely to exceed and excel because, one, their treatment by these leaders, and two, seeing themselves as leaders. All I've got.
Okay. Thanks, Elizabeth. And I know you, like you said, you had some more text than what you just read out on the slides. And so I think folks should have had that sent out ahead of time. I will take a moment in case there's any reactions or questions. For Elizabeth, acknowledgements. I see an acknowledgement. Thank you from Megan in the chat. I'll just also give that moment a moment. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Elizabeth, for bringing that particularity around diversity and leadership. I've actually had a couple of interactions with some folks the last couple of months around yeah, just like all of the types of conversations that we have around sort of well-being in the workplace, particularly, and for folks that are of sort of a diverse identity, that those things are true regardless of where you are in an organization. And so including in leadership is also an important place to recognize that. So thank you, Elizabeth. Okay. So I will acknowledge here the agenda for today and what folks can expect of our meeting time, and then I'll share a couple of announcements, and then we'll move into the evening. So starting with the agenda, today we have two items for the EAG's attention. The first is a very interesting, actually, and exciting sort of presentation and narrative and description of the work of PSC's tribal relations folks as part of the sort of corporate to government affairs that the organization that the utility has, and the particularities of working in concert with tribes is something that has some very thoughtful, deliberate attention. And so we'll get a chance to hear from I can see Catherine on the call, and I believe Nate as well in a moment, as I'll cue them up to talk us through the tribal relations work having at PSC, and folks will have an opportunity to ask any questions about that work and learn more about that relationship and that part of that function of the utility. We'll have a short break between the tribal relations or following the tribal relations period. And then we are today bringing back a conversation that we had started in last spring, summer, on disconnection. So you might remember Nicole Eagle, who has joined us again here today, joined us in a meeting last year where we talked a little bit about the relationship between disconnection practices to sort of utility assistance programs, and it felt as though we got through some of that, but not enough of it, not enough of what we actually feels like was needed for that conversation. So our hope is to be able to have Nicole speak a little bit more about the disconnection practices. Nicole's done some good thinking and sort of acknowledging where we left off from the conversation last year. And then our hope is to be able to get into sort of a closed session breakout where we can have some pretty direct dialogue on the topic of disconnections before we wrap at the end of the day. So we'll have, and by wrap, I mean wrap toward public comment and then next steps. So that is our agenda for the evening. A couple of things that I'll just acknowledge before I kick over to Catherine and Nate for tribal relations. Firstly, I just wanted to do a couple of acknowledgements and sort of shout outs of sorts. One shout out is, as folks might know, C, who is a member of the EAG, teaches a class at Western on advanced energy policy and regularly makes it a responsibility of her students to attend and view an EAG meeting. So I know that today is one of those days. So if you are an advanced energy policy student at Western, congratulations. Thanks for being here. This is a wave to you all. You're getting your credit. Good job. So just wanted to say a shout out to you all, and also wanted to acknowledge, as this meeting is taking place in February, recognizing Black History Month is celebrated here through the entire month of February, and encourage folks that if you have things in sort of acknowledgements, celebrations, opportunities, please use the chat to share those, both in support of Black History Month, and also there are many Lunar New Year activities happening throughout the month, and particularly this week's. I can see Karia wishing everyone a celebrating Lunar New Year, and yes, the Year of the Horse. So there are several folks, several items happening in this month. Thank you, Jenny, including Ramadan as well. So yeah, if you have items that you want people to be aware of, there's a thing going on in this weekend or something that you've read or saw, please feel free to use the chat so that we can make these acknowledgements a little bit more substantive as well. Cool. Okay. One other sort of update and announcement, which I might tee up to M here, is around some upcoming opportunities in connecting to the ISP integrated systems planning work. So, M, if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to just share that announcement.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. So hopefully just want to confirm everybody received the email that I sent on Friday. This is a pretty tight turnaround, so I wanted to use this meeting to bring it up as well. Our next topic in March is going to be starting a real plunge, a real sprint for the rest of the year with the ISP. And there is a very important meeting. Pretty much almost all, if not all of our advisory groups are going to be engaged at various points on specific aspects, but they're going to be really kicking off and laying off the process and the approach and the work plan at the first of those advisory group meetings, which is going to be later this week at the RPEG meeting, the Resource Planning Advisory Group. So the Clean Energy team is asking all the EAG members, as well as other members of other advisory groups, to view that meeting. You can either attend on February 26th, or sorry, did I say next week? You can either attend on February 26th, or we will send you the recording, but please make sure to go over it prior to that meeting. If you do want to attend in real time, just reach out to me and I'll get you the link for that. Does that make sense to everybody? Great, thank you.
Cool. Some head nods. If that didn't, do you have questions? Obviously, feel free to reach out and connect directly with M for access for those meetings and conversations. Oh, super quick, I guess. Karia asked what time on February 26th, if you know that quickly, M.
It's at 1 p.m.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, wonderful. So moving into the substance of our meeting, as folks will recognize, we continue to utilize and build and sort of connect the conversations that we're having with different parts of the utility back to the priority framework of this advisory body. And over the course of the greater part of last year, we spent our time, including a couple of retreats, sort of fleshing out this priority action plan sort of framework and worksheet. It it's grounded around the sort of 4 A's of the EAG. It includes the goal statements of what we're hoping to see be true as it relates to these different A's. It talks about where there are opportunities to make system level impacts, and then where, as an EAG member, are we really trying to plug in. And so, as we'll learn a little bit today through each of the different conversations, your feedback, there's a direct correlation as it relates back through the work and contributions that y'all are doing in these meetings up into where those opportunities for change are. And we're going to try more and more through the course of this year, really, to make that really palpable as we're going through the conversation. So this is just as a refresher and reminder, and also having support of that, the energy justice tenets, all of which are sort of linkage to the work that we're talking about together. Okay. And then finally, again, we've got, this is an open and public meeting. There are folks viewing this meeting through a live stream. We're glad that you're here. You can use and participate in the activity happening through the live stream on YouTube. And at the end of the meeting, we will provide an opportunity, should you wish to make public comment in this space, and how you may connect to this meeting space to do so. But please wait until that point in time for the access and for the opportunity. Okay. So with that preamble over, I will be passing over for our first topic to Catherine and Nathan on tribal relations. Let me know when you want me to toggle your slides ahead.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to present to you today. I hope you can hear me okay. I am just getting over some illness, so I may clear my throat a few times here and there, so thank you for your patience. I also want to say that I am a proud Western Alumni Viking as well. So shout out to Vikings. Yeah, so my name is Catherine Romero. I am the manager of tribal government affairs here at Puget Sound Energy. I've been here for almost 2 years. Before I came to the company, I spent 22 years in tribal government affairs at the Nooksack Indian Tribe, 12 years as an elected tribal council member, and then 11 years as the general manager overseeing the tribal government operations. I am a member of the Nooksack Indian Tribe, born and raised here in Whatcom County, beautiful Bellingham. And yeah, so today's presentation is particularly important to me because tribal relations are fundamentally about equity, justice, and honoring historical relationships that have really shaped our region that we're in today. So I'm ready to go to the next slide. Okay, you can go to the next slide.
I can just speak to this super
Okay,
quickly, Catherine, and
perfect,
just
thank
say,
you.
yeah, so just for folks, awareness and visibility, so today is really about visibility into the tribal relations work that's happening at the utility, current partnerships. How does the utility work with tribes? What are some of the particularities? It is an inform sort of level conversation. It's hopefully as a way to provide y'all with sort of an expansion of an awareness. Otherwise, the sort of complexities of this relationship and this work is one where this wasn't really the moment to sort of engage in a feedback that's more deeply than sort of questions around clarifying and understanding. So our hope is that as Catherine and Nate present on this today, I think they're open to some questions maybe at the end. We can manage that and track that. But likely again for sort of that clarification and of understanding. And hopefully y'all will still find this valuable. I think I have, as I've learned from Catherine and Nate leaning up to today. But just wanting to acknowledge that that we are sort of at that inform level. This is a non-regulatory conversation. And so it's mostly just for the interest of EAG members for your context and connecting to other things that we may have feedback on.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Well, at PSC, the Tribal Government Affairs team really does exist to be the bridge to sovereign nations. We serve as the primary connection between PSC as a corporation and tribal nations as tribal governments. And I really want to emphasize that this corporate to government engagement isn't really customer service because it requires specialized protocols and understanding that other utility relationships don't typically involve. So our team here at PSC, we ensure that we approach tribal relationships with respect and formality that sovereignty really does deserve. We help navigate complex legal and cultural landscapes that are unique to the utility tribal relationship space that we have. Our core mission centers on partnership development that honors tribal sovereignty while advancing clean energy goals. But I think it's important to be clear about what that really means in practice. Because tribal sovereignty isn't just a legal concept. It's about self-determination and the right for tribal nations to make decisions about their own energy futures. So this means our clean energy goals must align with tribal priorities, not override them. We're building genuine partnerships, not imposing solutions. So success for us really means that tribal communities achieve their energy objectives while PSC meets its clean energy commitments. It's not one or the other, it's both. And because tribal engagement affects multiple PSC departments, from engineering to environmental to legal, we work across the company to provide cultural competency guidance. We ensure that PSC staff understand appropriate protocols when engaging with the tribal governments and communities. We also kind of serve as a protective function as well, preventing well-intentioned but culturally inappropriate outreach that could damage relationships. Part of our role also includes ongoing education within PSC about tribal history, sovereignty, and contemporary issues. This foundation of respect and understanding is really essential for everything else we'll discuss today about how we're building these critical partnerships with tribal governments. Next slide. Now, here I want to talk about our partnership approach and why clean energy planning with tribal partners is uniquely complex. When we say we meet customers where they are, this takes on deeper meeting with tribal communities. We don't assume what tribes want. We listen and we learn about their specific energy priorities first, because energy means tribes have the right to say no. They have the right to set their own timelines and define their own energy futures. Cultural values aren't obstacles to overcome. They're assets to integrate into energy solutions. We support tribal-led initiatives rather than trying to lead ourselves. So working with tribal partners involves complexity that most utilities don't navigate. And here I'll try to break it down. The legal framework, federal Indian law creates a unique regulatory environment. Cultural resource protection isn't just environmental compliance. It's about sacred sites, ancestral connections. Treaties and trust responsibilities create federal oversight that affects every project development decision. The technical challenges, tribal lands may have different grid infrastructure needs. When we're integrating distributed energy resources, we must consider tribal energy goals and grid capabilities together. Resilience is often more critical for tribal communities due to the geographical isolation, or some historical reliability issues in their communities. Partnership coordination. We need to coordinate multiple PSC teams to avoid overwhelming tribal partners with separate outreach. We really try to show up as a unified voice. Tribal governments have their own decision-making process that we must respect. Federal agencies often have oversight roles that add a whole nother layer of complexity. Timeline alignment. This is crucial. Utility project timelines are often driven by regulatory requirements or shareholder expectations, but tribal decision-making may involve community consultation, cultural considerations, and consensus building. So rushing tribal partners can damage relationships and derail projects entirely. So we really try to buffer time into projects and maintain flexibility in our approach because the relationship is more important than any single timeline. Next slide. Our outreach strategy focuses on facilitating collaboration across different types of partnerships while building authentic relationships. Enterprise partnerships. These are major economic development opportunities that benefit both PSC and the tribal nations. Large-scale projects like solar farms or wind developments on tribal lands, those large-scale projects can provide some revenue streams or some significant cost savings for tribes while helping PSC meet clean energy goals. And these partnerships create jobs, they build tribal capacity in the clean energy sector, and demonstrate that tribal sovereignty and PSC's business objectives can truly be aligned. Customer and strategic programs. Many PSC programs weren't originally designed with tribal communities in mind. So we ensure that tribes know about and can access energy efficiency programs, rebates, and incentives. But more importantly, we adapt program delivery to be culturally appropriate and accessible. This isn't just about inclusion, it's about ensuring the programs actually work for the tribal communities. And then load management. Tribal energy resources can help PSC optimize the grid during peak demand periods. These partnerships provide grid stability benefits while creating some cost savings or other benefits for tribes. So it can be a win-win that supports both PSC's operational needs and tribal economic development. Now let me talk about how we build trust, because without trust, none of these partnerships work. Relationship first. We don't lead with what the company wants. We don't lead with what PSC wants. We start by understanding what the tribes need. This means investing time without immediate project outcomes. Trust building is a prerequisite for any successful partnership. Cultural protocols. Every tribe has specific consultation processes that we must follow. These aren't bureaucratic hurdles, they're expressions of sovereignty. So following proper protocols shows respect and prevents relationship damage. And then we have a consistent presence. We maintain relationships between projects and not just when we need something. We really try to be consistent with regular check-ins to help us understand the changing tribal priorities and to keep really building those relationships with tribal leaders and tribal staff and their tribal community, just to be visible in those communities and show that we care. Mutual learning. Tribes have centuries of sustainable resource management experience, traditional ecological knowledge that can inform PSC's environmental practices. This really isn't a one-way technical assistance. It's genuine knowledge exchange where we learn as much as we share. Next slide.
Actually, just before we go to the next slide, Catherine, do you want to just say like a sentence or so about the resource guide that's pictured on the slide?
Right, right. So we offer cultural awareness and tribal sovereignty training internally at PSC. And this just helps anybody in the company understand tribal sovereignty, understand tribal land, and all of the different complexities that come with building relationships with tribes and when we're working with tribes.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
So our work requires specialized coordination across multiple teams across the company at Puget Sound Energy. And this ensures culturally appropriate engagement. The archaeological teams, the infrastructure work on or near tribal lands requires careful cultural resource protection. We coordinate with tribal historic preservation offices before any ground disturbance to prevent damage to sacred sites and maintain compliance with federal law. Early coordination prevents costly project delays and relationship damage. Program teams, standard PSC program delivery may not work for tribal communities. So we help program teams understand cultural considerations and appropriate outreach methods. This ensures that programs are accessible and effective for tribal customers. Cultural appropriateness isn't just nice to have, it determines program success. And then we have vegetation management. The right-of-way maintenance can affect traditional use access and culturally significant plants. We coordinate with tribes to protect traditional gathering areas. This work requires understanding both operational needs and cultural values. Proper coordination prevents conflicts and maintains positive relationships that benefit all of our work. And then the next slide. So here at this point of our presentation, I'd like to turn it over to Nate Davern, who will share our case study with the Nisqually tribe and demonstrate how these principles work in practice.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, as Catherine said, my name is Nate Davern. I've met a few of you on the EAG before. If you haven't met me yet, my name is, as Catherine said, Nate. I've managed Puget Sound Energy's federal government affairs group as well as tribal government affairs. And so when I took that on in 2023, it was sort of, and it had been a Puget priority for a number of years, but growth and sort of relationship building had been a little slow to develop because we had had a number of folks turning over in those early years due to the pandemic. And once we had Catherine brought a lot more consistency, as Catherine's been talking about, in the way that we approach work with sovereign tribal nations. And so what I thought I would do at this point, before Catherine talks about more of the learnings we've had in some of our listening sessions and some of the partnering work projects we've done, would be to highlight some of the case studies that have come out of the recent years of tribal government relations and to what effect they're having in these communities with our project partners. And so we want to start with Nisqually, which probably one of the biggest that we've had in that 3-year time frame. And I know that Jessica McColgan from our customer outreach team is also on the call today in case there are additional questions about this or related work. But to Catherine's point about the way that we're engaging as a whole of enterprise approach to working with our customers, we had an outreach representative asked to join a solar installation kind of dinner, just one of these, lunch and learn type of events that the tribe hosted over the dinner hour. And during the presentation that we co-presented with a solar installer, he took the time to reach out to one of the facilities managers and said, it seems like the lighting is pretty bad in your gym, and I'm betting we could save you money. Next week, the tribe had inquired about an efficiency upgrade. That one upgrade led to, as you can see on the right-hand column, 10 more to follow it. We've now installed over 700 LED lights on the reservation, saving the tribe $150,000 over 10 years in just lighting costs alone. But what that first sort of interaction did was it led to this organic growth where his peer over in facilities then became the department head's conversation with our major accounts team, which then became leadership's conversation with myself and our CEO. And it's led to this ongoing partnership that not only has broadened beyond the initial lighting upgrades that we've done across the reservation, but we're working on backing up their fishery operations so that if for some reason the power goes out during critical seasons for the tribe's fisheries, they can maintain operations. They approached us and were very clear in their intent. We said, we want to own more of our infrastructure, so we own the revenue streams. And Puget said, great, how do we help you do that? Broadband projects, when they ran into cost challenges, we brought in our broadband and our pole services team to help them find cost savings to match grants they had applied for. And where I think what really has made a turning point in our work within Nisqually has been this long-term engagement where they bring us ideas, and rather than Puget find ways to say no, we find ways to say yes, or to find somebody in the sort of utility and energy value chain here in the Northwest to help them. There's also noted here their DER enablement and solar integration practices at the tribe have led to over $100,000 in savings per year. The tribe's goal of installing solar on every one of their admin buildings is well underway, and they bring us new project ideas each and every year. So it's really an exciting partnership worth highlighting. And then if I could have you skip to the next slide. We thought, as well as giving you one that has been going well for a number of years, let's talk about one that's ongoing. So the Suquamish tribe, out on the Kitsap Peninsula predominantly, has been working closely with our team for the better part of 2 years. As it notes here, multi-departmental partnership. We've got folks from customer outreach that are doing work with the tribe. We have folks in our solar installation teams giving technical advice to the tribe. But we also started an empowerment listening session where, for educational outreach purposes primarily, Puget has been working closely with the tribe and its members directly to help them better understand how distributed energy resources can work to bolster either resiliency, cost savings, or cultural values that the tribe has around clean energy generation. The Suquamish tribe has stood up a sustainability team that we've been working closely with over the past 2.5 years, helping them think through ideas for community resilience and different buildings where they may get more bang for their buck on project launch and project development if they could do that. We've talked to them about different ownership structures for utility infrastructure, whether that be tribally owned and PSE managed, tribally owned and managed, PSE owned and managed, the cost structures that break down for each. It's been really exciting. And one of the things that I like about this picture in particular, this is a solar installation and a solar grant that the tribe worked with us on, but that installation, as you see, takes up about, less than half, right? About a third or so of that facility's roof. The tribe came to us and asked a simple question: why can't we put solar on the entire roof and then just take the excess power and do something else with it? And we said, you're right, you should be able to do that. Let's develop a program to do it. And so one of the first participants in a multi-family program that launched earlier last year has been the Suquamish tribe. Now it is focused on multi-family units, but the tribe owns a number of multi-family units, and we're working on ways to expand it to other sort of building classes. But they brought us an idea that's now also become a program that additional customers at PSE should be able to utilize over the years to come. So continuing work with the Suquamish tribe, but we thought it was helpful to kind of point out an in-flight case study as well, as one that we have, some actual historical data on now. With that, if there are any questions about the case study, I can take them now or at the end. I'll pause for a moment. All right. We can go ahead and turn it back over to Catherine to talk about some listening session learnings, and then some strategic energy planning tools that we have been co-developing with Tribe. So go ahead and skip forward to the next slide. Catherine, it's back to you.
All right. Thank you, Nate. Now I want to share what we are learning from our tribal communities and how we are adapting our approach based on their feedback that we've heard through these listening sessions and through work that we've been doing with tribes. Themes that we're hearing: energy sovereignty. The tribes want control over their energy future, not just access to PSC programs. This means supporting tribal-owned energy projects and infrastructure. Energy sovereignty connects to broader self-determination goals, and PSC's role is to really support tribal energy goals, not to direct them. Resilience priorities. Many tribal communities face unique vulnerability during outages. Critical services like the health clinics, the elder care facilities, elder community homes, they need backup power. Emergency preparedness is often a higher priority than cost savings, and resilient solutions must be tribally controlled and maintained. Economic development. Clean energy represents job creation and revenue opportunities for tribes. Workforce development partnerships can benefit both PSC and tribal communities. Economic benefits should flow to tribal communities, not just through them. And these partnerships can address historical economic inequities. Cultural integration. Energy planning must consider cultural values and traditional practices, period. Technical solutions need to align with tribal worldviews and priorities. Cultural integration isn't an add-on. It's fundamental to successful partnerships and often leads to more innovative solutions. Prioritize vulnerable populations. Elders, medically vulnerable, and high energy burden households need priority access to programs. This aligns with both tribal values and PSC's equity commitments and ensures programs have maximum community impact. How we're adapting. Based on what we're hearing, we're developing more flexible partnership models that can adapt to different tribal priorities. We're enhancing emergency coordination protocols, exploring workforce development collaboration, and integrating cultural resource protection into all of our planning processes. We're also starting program offerings with community-wide benefits rather than focusing solely on individual customer programs. Next slide. This is fairly new within the last quarter of last year. We've developed a systematic approach to tribal partnership through our strategic energy planning toolkit. We've created a systematic approach that can work across different communities while respecting their uniqueness. This framework is standardized enough to be efficient, but flexible enough to honor tribal sovereignty. This incorporates lessons learned from our existing tribal relationships, and importantly, sovereignty and self-determination are built into the framework from the beginning and not added as an afterthought. I can walk you through the key components of our strategic energy planning toolkit. It has the technical assistance and capacity building. We provide expertise without imposing solutions. Our capacity building helps tribes develop their own energy expertise both technical and project management skills. The goal is tribal energy independence, not dependence on PSE. Streamlined partnership development, where we've simplified our partnership process to reduce barriers for tribes. Clear processes help tribes understand how to engage with PSE effectively. And streamlining respects tribal time and resources, and efficient processes allow more time for the relationship building that's so critical to success. Long-term relationship framework. These aren't project by project relationships, they're ongoing partnerships. Long-term thinking aligns with tribal planning horizons. Sustained relationships create better outcomes for everyone. And efficient processes allow more time for the relationship building that's so critical to the success. Sustained relationships create better outcomes for everyone, and the framework provides stability while allowing for adaptation and needs as they change. And then the last one was coordination with federal and state initiatives. We really try to coordinate with other tribal energy initiatives to avoid duplication and maximize the resources. Federal and state programs can complement PSE partnerships, and we help tribes navigate complex multi-agency relationships. So this approach creates mutual benefits. For tribes, it means consistent, respectful engagement and real partnership opportunities. For PSE, it provides a systematic approach that reduces risks, enhances compliance, and creates a scalable model. Success creates templates for other utility tribal relationships across the country, the industry. Okay, next slide.
Catherine, just before you move on, there was a question in the chat that asks, can you give an example where cultural integration changed energy planning from a traditionally corporate approach?
I think there's several examples when it comes to cultural appropriate innovation. So tribes are true stewards of the land. So when they're planning energy projects, they're thinking about how the impacts, what the impacts are going to be when it comes to the river and the fish, the wind and the birds. Like those, when they're being innovative, we really have to consider those impacts and what those impacts truly mean to the tribes.
And Catherine, this is Nate. Mind if I jump in? It's a great question, Dennis. And the first one coming to my mind is Lummi Nation has for a number of years now requested very specific pole replacement policies of Puget that are not really handled similarly anywhere else in our system. Catherine may be able to expand on this, but in essence, a lot of the land that Lummi Nation sits on has not been culturally surveyed. There are burial sites that are known, and then there are other sites where the nation doesn't yet know what's fully buried underneath. And so the unfortunate reality is if a utility company comes in and would do a standard pole replacement that we would do, many other places in our service territory, you would put in a pole right next to the existing one. At Lummi, they have a cultural value of us replacing in place. It is a little more costly. It takes more time to replace poles and infrastructure on Lummi property, but by standard, PSE does that. We do replace in place because we know that it's very culturally sensitive, right? To go dig a second hole and take that land and either send it to a landfill or others. It has come up in recent years where an emergency repair was necessary and a crew was either from out of state or out of territory was unaware of this policy, and we've had to go in and add stricter controls and guardrails to that, but all to the effect of making sure that we're honoring Lummy's, you know, demand of us as their service provider, that we are replacing in place and not disturbing more land before they have an ability to survey it and truly understand what's going on there. If that's hopefully that's just one opportunity I can use to answer the question. We can follow up with others if that would be helpful.
Thank you, Nate. Yeah, our work is far from perfect, but we do really try to work with the tribes in those sensitive areas and situations. All right, now I'll address the business case for this work that we do, because strong tribal partnerships aren't just the right thing to do. They're essential infrastructure for PSC's clean energy future. Clean energy objectives. Tribal lands often have excellent renewable energy resources that can accelerate PSC's clean energy timeline. These partnerships help us meet regulatory clean energy requirements more efficiently. Grid resilience improves through distributed tribal energy resources, benefiting all of our customers. Traditional ecological knowledge can inform innovative energy solutions that we can apply system-wide. And these partnerships demonstrate PSC's commitment to environmental justice and the clean energy transition. Risk management and compliance. Proactive relationship building prevents costly project delays and opposition that can derail infrastructure projects. Strong tribal relationships enhance our regulatory compliance and improves PSC standing with oversight agencies. Stakeholder support improves our reputation and social license to operate. Early engagement prevents conflicts that historically have cost utilities millions in delays and redesigns. And when we help customers reduce bills through energy efficiency, we decrease PSC's bad debt risk and improve our overall financial health. Some business benefits. Tribal partnerships open new markets for PSC services and programs, expanding revenue opportunities. Economic development partnerships create mutual business opportunities that benefit both parties. Industry leadership in utility tribal relations provides competitive advantage and positions PSC as a model for other utilities. These relationships serve as a template for engaging other challenging stakeholder groups, and successful tribal partnerships enhance PSC's brand and attracts customers who value corporate responsibility. And then we have operational value. Improved emergency response coordination benefits all customers through faster restoration times. Reduce vegetation management conflicts, save time and money while protecting culturally significant areas. Enhance community relations, improve PSC's reputation across all service territories, not just tribal areas. Tribal partnerships often lead to innovative operational solutions that we can apply system-wide. And strong relationships create advocates who can help PSC navigate complex regulatory and permitting processes. So the bottom line, I think, in an era where social license to operate is increasingly important, tribal partnerships position PSC as a leader in responsible utility management. And what I mean by social license is the ongoing acceptance and approval we need from communities to conduct our business successfully. It's beyond just legal permits. It's about earning and maintaining public trust. These relationships create value that extends far beyond individual projects, building social capital that benefits PSC's entire operation. So success with tribal partners demonstrates PSC's commitment to equity and builds trust with all communities. The investment in tribal relations pays dividends across our entire operation, from reduced project risks to enhanced stakeholder support. Strong partnerships are essential infrastructure for PSC's clean energy future. They're not just nice to have, they're necessary for long-term success. So with that, I thank you for your time and your attention, and happy to take any questions or comments about our tribal relations program.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. That was great to be able to hear and learn about the approach and some of the particular perspectives. I wanted to obviously offer the floor to EAG members for questions. If things come through the chat, I will read them. I'm also really interested just in folks' reflections. I will speak for myself to say that I had very little, call it no, awareness around sort of the utilities tribal relations work. And so, like I said, I've had the chance to like meet with Nate and Catherine through today, but I'm curious what things are standing out for folks. There's several of you wrote in the chat that, you express appreciation. Like, I'm curious what's standing out for you from what you've heard from Catherine and Nate. If you don't have any questions, we welcome questions, but I'm also just curious. Yeah, what was it that you heard today that was inspiring or appreciative? Yeah, go ahead. Let's do it. Megan and Jenny, go for it.
Hi, Catherine and Nate. Thank you so much for being here. I just find this really inspiring because here at Central Washington University, I run the Cultural and Environmental Resource Management Master's program, and this is pretty much everything we teach our students about doing archaeology and cultural resource management and even natural resource management, right? And I'm sitting here taking furious notes on a lot of this because the language is really helpful. And, it would be great if everybody, right, who wanted to work with the tribe was really kind of considering all of these things. I'm a vegetation person, so I really loved what you said about, even just clearing vegetation to put up new poles and all of that kind of stuff can impact harvesting of cultural resources. And so I really appreciate everything you're doing, and it's inspired me to take some of this information back to my students in our master's program and really show them what seems to me like a really great example of kind of the right kind of not just consultation, but collaboration with the tribes. So thank you for bringing especially these case studies.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. Yeah, heard you talk about you're seeing those opportunities and where you are, and sort of that language is at least helpful. But yeah, seeing a couple of people talk about the model. Let's go to Jenny, and then I'll go to the chat.
Yeah, just real quick. Also, just wanted to thank Catherine and Nate. And I think Nate just kind of alluded to it. I was getting the sense that hearing Catherine speak, I think it felt like Catherine had really leveled up the relationship and the approach just in the way that she was speaking. And then I think Nate kind of confirmed that a little bit, just stating that how the staff was changing and things were changing after COVID. And then Catherine came in and really just leveled up the whole approach to how this work is done. So I really appreciate that. And I'm sure it has been a long, fun adventure along the way. But thank you so much for your work, Catherine and Nate and team.
The smartest decision any of us can make is hiring Catherine. So she's here at PSE. Don't take her from us. But yeah, I will sing her praises any chance I get.
Now I'm thinking maybe guest lecture sometime in one of our graduate classes. I might have to hit you up, Catherine, because there's just a lot I think our students could learn from you.
Great.
Hey,
I'm
well,
happy to have
And at that too, I would say, we do of recent, Catherine mentioned, we've restarted our training in-house, and we have a Central Washington alum in Craig Bill, the former executive director of the Governor's Office of Indian Affairs, helped us lead it. So the folks that, lead the state and others in private sector are helping us kind of develop that training, that framework, that learning as well. So maybe if there's
That's awesome.
maybe if there's a way to put you in touch through the alumni network in the future, we can play matchmaker.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Look at that, Catherine. You just do your job, and then people are like, let's say nice things about you. But that's great. Okay, I wanted to acknowledge, so there's a couple things in the chat I'll read out, but one of them is a question from sort of through the YouTube live stream. So it said, pertaining to the case study on Nisqually, do you have a rough estimate of the time between how it started phase and to the current scope phase? And I think, Nate and Jessica, maybe if you all want to try to tag team that.
Yeah, and I may tap Jessica for some assistance here too. The first project I want to say with the Nisqually tribe started in the March, April timeframe of 2023. It snowballed though. We went from, I think, one facility to 6 within a couple of months. And all 11 were maybe done by the end of 2023. Oh yeah, sorry, good call, Em. Jessica is our customer outreach lead here at PSE. The estimates on saving $150,000 from the LED lighting conversion, that is a number quoted by the tribe. I think there was a snippet of the tribe's newspaper or newsletter in the slides. That was a projection over a 10-year savings period. The $100,000 in savings, again, that's a number reported by the tribe in their newsletter that came out later in 2023. I think does involve some of these solar installations. Jessica, check me on that if you know. I believe it involves solar lighting upgrades, and there may have been even a few other efficiency upgrades in that $100,000 a year savings.
Yeah, I'm not honestly sure about the total dollars and if that includes all the solar as well. But I think you're right on the timing and the various projects that came from that initial presentation, which I think was in February of 2023. And like you're saying, it happened really quickly that there were a lot of follow-on projects. Including last year, we held a listening session with the Nooksack, we did with the Nooksack as well, but also with Nisqually.
Right.
Starting in spring of last year with Nisqually leadership, and then held a community listening session later in the summer as well. So that like Nate said, that just has snowballed into various opportunities and discussions around electric vehicle chargers, batteries, solar, lots of different opportunities.
Yeah, I would just note, it's 2023 to now. We're going on 3 years, but the savings have led to project savings buying new projects cycling, which will have some limitation out in the future, but it has led to more projects since. Hopefully that answers the YouTube view question.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate and Jessica. And yes, Jessica is a familiar face, but thanks for acknowledging leading customer outreach. I wanted to acknowledge a couple of things in the chat. And as I do, also give a moment, no pressure at all, but I was poking around LinkedIn and I saw Rachel share some exciting news out of Sklallam in Port Gamble around the energy planning work that y'all have just contributed towards. So if you are interested, Rachel, you can speak to it a moment or not, or you can maybe just direct us to a link that you already shared for folks that are connected with you there. But seeing on the chat, parallel with BIPOC communities where these lessons from tribal relations can be used to advance those communities as well. Absolutely. And I think that's something we want to be holding as we move into other conversations. And then Kari says, really appreciate the intentionality, the thoughtfulness, determination of meeting the tribes where they are and supporting them all the way. So again, more kudos and thank you to Karia and Nate. I think I've successfully pulled Rachel out a little bit. She's come on camera. If you want to just speak for a little bit here, I think it's really
Sure.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, the Port Gamble Skollam tribe, tribal council last Tuesday officially adopted a strategic energy plan. Our first strategic energy plan, which I have shared with Catherine and a number of other partners who have been eagerly waiting for it while we've been waiting for it to get approved. Yeah, very excited. We've already begun implementation, but Puget Sound Energy has already been a really great partner in the implementation work we've done so far, and I have regular meetings with PSC staff. So, you know, anecdotally, I can share that their tribal relations team is doing a really good job of offering resources and trying not to overwhelm, but there are so many PSC programs, as we are all very aware of. So I've been trying to take advantage and prioritize as necessary. Yeah, I'm always happy to talk more about what Port Gamble's up to, if anyone's interested.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for doing that, Rachel. And yeah, I don't think M meant to jump scare. It's like I'm gonna throw Rachel in the photo, but we know that there was some cool stuff. So I'm glad you got a chance to share that and folks got a chance to hear that. Okay, we're approaching time here. I think I understand there's one more question through the YouTube. I will read it aloud, but in the interest of time for how we've set up and making sure we want to do a short break before we get to disconnections, I'll read the question aloud, and then if folks are able to through PSC, either through the YouTube or in the after meeting summary, will respond. But the question that was asked was, have you been met with opposition from sovereign nations? If so, how do you treat the relationship moving forward? Do you continue to try and forge a relationship? So it's a very interesting question. We'll go into a very short break here, but maybe if there's response that can be typed out, we will do so. Otherwise, we'll try to address that in post meeting. And so with that, we'll just go into a short break. Catherine, Nate, thank you very much for your time and participation, and Jessica for tag teaming in there as well. So yeah, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Catherine, Nate, any final parting words or?
No, just thank you all for your time and all of the great feedback and the questions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the work you all do to advise us. And yeah, thank you for your time tonight.
Awesome. Okay, let's do a quick 5. Get up, stretch legs, grab some water. I'm gonna do that, and we'll kick up with Nicole right promptly at 6:13. So back in 5. Thank you. Okay. If you're around and able to let me know that you're back, either by turning your camera on, giving a thumbs up, writing in the chat, we will get started. I feel like I want to think about some what's a 5-minute break tips. I didn't do this just now, but I've been doing I don't know if you all have ever seen the lymphatic reset little massage stuff. Yeah, Carson knows. Yeah, that's a good 5-minute tip. Get yourself standing and moving around. Great. Okay. I think we've got some folks back. I will still kick us up here and get us started. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we're welcome to have Nicole Eagle back with us. And as mentioned, many of you might remember that Nicole was at an EAG meeting around middle of last year or so, and we're bringing back this conversation on disconnections. And so this is the focal point for the rest of our time for the evening. Similarly, Nicole, I will toggle your slides as necessary, and I understand that we do want to make sure we leave some good space for discussion, so we can manage that when we get to that point. But yeah, Nicole, the floor is yours.
Before you kick it over to me, do you want to just handle the objective slide?
Sure. Yeah, I can describe that. So similarly, like I was just mentioning, we started this conversation last year, sort of in a little bit of an introduction, and it felt like the collective we here, sort of preparing for the EAG meeting, maybe recognized when we finished the meeting, we needed to sort of take a step back or half a step back in approaching this topic and this conversation. There is real connections between disconnections as a pathway to assistance programs, but people on the group felt like maybe we need to spend some meaningful time talking about the why and how. So that's the focal point. So sort of consider a little bit more the why PSC uses disconnections and how people end up in disconnection. And the opportunity here, I think, for EAG members, and if we go back to the that sort of our priority framework, we've got sort of a line that we can track through our affordability priority that y'all have talked about, sort of like the missing customer or the hidden customer. And I think this is a good opportunity for y'all to share and reflect together on what can we better understand about the sort of hidden missing customers that either are or are not served through disconnections. And so Nicole will talk a little bit about that picture, share some case studies, and then that will be where our discussion is to sort of build our collective understanding based on y'all's experience and points of view. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. And so now, Nicole, I will kick over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ishmael. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate the opportunity to meet with this group again. So to start, today's discussion kind of continues from the conversation that we did begin May of last year. Some of the key learnings were things like, opportunities to prevent disconnections. We heard a lot about community partners may be able to provide insights into the human elements of disconnection. The disconnections can exacerbate underlying issues for customers, and those should be considerations taken. And then that disconnections are a failure in the process. So my focus today will be how PSC views disconnections as a last resort, as no one wants to see a customer have to face disconnection. We'll talk a little bit through why disconnections are employed with regulatory rules and procedures that do guide us utilities in that process, along with talking through how our system is designed to prevent disconnecting whenever possible. And then lastly, we'll look into what we can do to further reduce disconnections. So let's head to the next slide.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. Just acknowledging, Nicole, maybe that's on purpose, but notice your camera's not on and maybe you're not able to, but
no, I absolutely can. I think I hit it too quick and didn't actually hit my camera.
Okay, there you go. There we are.
A little
All right.
dark in my room.
There you go. Sorry. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so we will kick it off with kind of just how the system is designed to avoid disconnection. So I just wanted to start off with just saying that our teams are really committed to supporting our customers. We understand that every customer's situation is unique, which is why we offer a wide range of programs designed to meet different needs and why there are a lot of protections in place. Those things can be payment arrangement options, which help customers manage temporary financial challenges. We have budget billing programs that provide a little bit more predictable monthly payments. We also offer, as you'll see here, a suite of bill assistance programs for income qualified customers, along with, not necessarily noted here, a lot of usage and energy efficiency tools to help customers, monitor and reduce consumption. And then some emergency support resources for those facing maybe a sudden hardship, which will be like our warm home fund that's shown here. So when customers are engaged with their account by us actively listening and understanding circumstances and being able to connect customers to the right program at the right time, we really do aim to make them feel supported at every step. Our goal is to provide customers with solutions that help them. As I said earlier, no one wants to see a customer face disconnection. We understand it's a difficult moment for them and for us. We also understand it can be really stressful and often an overwhelming experience for customers. And that's something that our teams take seriously because we understand the impact that it does have on people's daily lives. So that's why we work really hard to partner with customers early, offer support, and explore every option available before service is ever at risk. But each disconnection does represent a hardship that we can aim to reduce. So our role here really is to lead with empathy, identify solutions, and connect customers with the right resources long before they reach the point of hardship. The system is intentionally designed to help customers avoid being disconnected, and also is why we have offer the wide range of programs as reflected here. That each one of them is created to really help customers get back on track or stay on track with their account and their accountability. But even with all of these support programs in place, there still are situations where customers may move toward disconnection and may ultimately be disconnected. So understanding why disconnections occur is essential. So let's head to the next slide, if you don't mind. So I'd like to walk us through a case study with you that is looking at pre and post-pandemic data. This time frame includes the period when disconnecting was prohibited, which was when we were under the disconnect moratorium. And I think reviewing it will help us understand what our customers experienced during that unique time and beyond, and a reason why utilities do exercise disconnects. So during this time, as you can see, I know there's a lot of charts and things labeled here, and I'll do my best to cover all of them, but as you can see, during this time, many customers faced some really excessive arrearages. Overall, the customer arrearages grew at an exponential rate, especially in comparison to pre-pandemic years. And one thing I really wanted to call out, which is noted on this slide, but looking at the assistance funding and programs during this time and also beyond, we had $480 million in support that has been distributed across about 985,000 customers. I do want to note that that is not at an individual unique count, as some customers received help from multiple funding sources. But I did just want to pause there for a second and just have you consider, if these programs and dollars had not been available, how much higher would customer arrearages be today? And would we have likely seen an increase in disconnections? So I just want to pause there really quick because we're kind of looking at the trailing number as we kind of went into the moratorium. We had disconnections suspended, arrearages continued to grow, and then kind of coming out of the disconnect moratorium was ended, and just kind of, think about where that could have been. But luckily, we were fortunate to have the funding and programs that we did. And while it didn't eliminate the challenge faced by all customers, it at least significantly reduced what would have been an even more severe financial burden, specifically for our income qualified households. So I just want to pivot just a little bit talking about arrearages. So high arrearages may seem like something that customers can deal with or deal with later, but in reality, they create a long-term challenge that makes it really hard for households to keep up. When a balance grows too large, or what I like to call balloons beyond control, it becomes really difficult for customers to manage. Large balances may also limit customer options in the programs that we saw on the slide before. We see that, smaller balances do tend to, be resolved through maybe a simple payment plan or maybe some short-term assistance. But once a balance becomes significant, it's really hard to catch up. So that adds a lot of stress and makes the path to getting current very overwhelming, and in some cases, even impossible. So most importantly, higher arrearages also delay resolution. Instead of helping customers regain stability, carrying a large past due balance like we saw during COVID and post-COVID, that really can increase some financial pressure. And I think it puts them at a greater risk of service interruptions. So when customers do reach out early before arrearages grow, it really opens the door to be more flexible with solutions, get them in a more manageable state with payments, and can smooth the road to recovery. During this time, we saw and heard firsthand from our customers just how they were impacted during this time, specifically when disconnections were not occurring. Customers felt, and we agreed, that even our traditional programs were really no longer even enough to meaningfully help our customers. We heard a great deal of frustration from our customers, questioning things like, why were we not disconnecting service, and having to explain what the moratorium meant, and then questioning and having a lot of, just frustrations around how their balance had been allowed, specifically by PSE, to grow so significantly without disconnecting it. It was an incredibly challenging time, not only for our customers who were struggling, but also for the company, as we both were navigating some unprecedented times and circumstances. And, all parties were doing the best we could do to support them along the way. So I can pause there, see if there's any questions. Otherwise, I have one more slide for the case study if we want to head over to that one.
There is a question. Dennis shared in the chat a question about the 480 million. Did that come from PSE, federal government, a combination? What's the source of how that was put together?
It is absolutely a combination. So we stood up programs during COVID. Some of those were funded by PSE. Some of them were state funded, funding sources coming from Commerce. We, of course, had our LIHEAP funding. It's most of the traditional programs. It's also new programs that we've stood up along the way. So we stood up our past due bill forgiveness program. It's been up and running for about a year now, little over a year. We also did our most recent program at the tail end of 25, which was our Head Start benefit, which again utilized some funding from existing programs that we have today, like our PSE Help program. So it is a combination of multiple programs all rolled up into one. Does that answer the question, Dennis?
There's another question, which I know that this is specific to the moratorium, but does that, I think the question is like, is that possible? Again, in so many words, is that funding stream stable, or what's the, sort of.
I mean, we We don't have some of the COVID programs that we stood up during that time. Again, a lot of those were to assist customers that were really facing some, big financial challenges, job loss, income, drastic changes at a household level. So a lot of those COVID programs, they were one and done as they were, dispersed and funding was given to customers. The programs ended. I would say we still have our funding stream for our traditional programs like our PSC Help. We certainly still are receiving LIHEAP funding from a federal level. We have our past due bill forgiveness program. We have our bill discount rate, warm home fund. I'm probably missing some, but maybe not. Those are still stable funding that we have available today.
Cool. Okay, thanks. Let's go to the other part of the case study, and then we can keep taking questions.
Awesome. Okay, so the next one that I wanted to show is just a little bit more drilled into kind of what we saw during the moratorium. And I just wanted to show just some arrearages specifically down to the residential level during kind of pre and post pandemic, just so that you had a sense of just how excessive some balances got for some customers and, how big of a stress they really were for our customers. So as you can see from this slide, we had a significant number of residential customers with balances exceeding $10,000 at the end of each month. Yes, I said $10,000 at the end of each month. And to me, what really stands out was the growth that we saw in these high balance accounts during the pandemic, specifically when we were not disconnecting. And it has continued into even post-pandemic period. So really just wanted to kind of round it out. When arrearages reach this level, as I've kind of mentioned through some of the other slides, customers find themselves in a situation that's extremely difficult to navigate. And if not, it's maybe also impossible for them to resolve without some significant intervention. So I'll just wrap up kind of the case study with our goal is to keep arrearages as low as we are able to and to prevent customers from reaching the point of disconnection. However, allowing balances to grow indefinitely isn't the answer either. So when customers are not making sound account decisions or taking the accountability, the company does choose to step in and take some action to us that supports the long-term health of the account. It does also protect other ratepayers and the company financial health as well. And so this is, again, why we really do our best efforts, specifically within this process, kind of in advance of anyone reaching disconnection, is to really focus on the early communications, proactively discussing options with our customers, and timely support to help the customers stay in control and avoid the burdens that come with escalating balances. So while disconnecting is not our goal, they are heavily regulated and are truly a last resort, but they are also not a terminal event either. Reconnections do happen fairly quickly once a customer initiates their service request, and there's no financial impact, meaning there's no fees assessed to our customers at this time either. So I'll kind of pause there before we head into what I think is my last slide. Okay. Is there any questions, Ishmael, that I need to respond to?
No, there's a great question that's in the chat that we acknowledge that we will try to get some accurate information to. And so yeah, I think you can carry on, Nicole.
Sounds good. Okay, well, I think heading into the last slide, this was something of interest. So we kind of just pulled together some trends by our vulnerable groups. And those are going to be our highly impacted communities, vulnerable populations, known low income, deepest need, and then just a snapshot of kind of just then all other customers and kind of what their disconnection rates look like. And so I think a couple of things that we've taken from this slide is we're starting to see that we're seeing some trends indicating at least that our assistance appears to be more effective than vulnerability factors alone. You will see that some groups are above or below disconnection averages. And I thought that it would be helpful here to also just talk through kind of what some of the average past due balances were for each of these groups, which may be an indicator as to why disconnection may have occurred. It is just pure speculation from my part. We don't necessarily have the data to support the theory, but we are working on that internally. We're working towards doing more around kind of the post engagement with customers that have been disconnected. Maybe we get more surveys with customers or any other considerations. Nothing's been determined at this time. So again, just some pure speculation that I think some of the average past due balance for each one of these groups may be an indicator as to why the account reached disconnection. So I'll give an example. If we just take a look at 2022, the average past due balance for our vulnerable population was about $3,022. Known low income was just a little over $2,600. Our highly impacted communities was about $3,350, and then all other customers was about $3,582. And then taking a look at our 2025 average past due balances, our vulnerable population, and they've come down quite a bit, which is really great to see. Still in an area of opportunity, but they have come down. But our vulnerable population was about 1,293 average past due balance. Known low income was about 1,634. Highly impacted communities was 1,369. Deepest need, which came into kind of being able to report on that data, I believe 2024 forward. So deepest need was average past due balance of about just a little over $2,000. And then all other PSE customers was about 1,245. So again, 2025 is seeing some improvement overall, especially compared to prior years. And again, I think one contributing factor may have been related to the past due balances as they are starting to come down. But I do think that this shows us that our targeted programs are working. That does not mean that our work is over. I think that we have some specific groups here, or the pockets, or the hidden, Ishmael, what'd you say? Hidden customers, however you worded that earlier, pockets of customers, whichever way you want to say it. But I think we've got some pockets of customers where we can focus some efforts in 2026 and beyond. Things like increasing awareness, maybe providing some additional targeted education. I think we can probably strengthen our field presence for some of these groups. But all in all, I think all of those actions will help us to continue to reduce disconnection rates across all groups. Let's head to the next slide.
I'm gonna head to the next slide, but I'm gonna get to a couple of questions here that were just in the chat. I'm gonna acknowledge them, and then maybe Nicole, you can think about to what extent do you answer them here in this moment. I know that we want to get into a discussion. How much of that do we want to sort of address in discussion? So I'll at least acknowledge them so that they're on your mind and they're not lost as you get to this last piece. There's one question that was about resets. So when we heard about recess is where PSE closes. There's a question about where PSE closes the account, observes the cost, reconnecting the account can start again at 0. That's one. And then another question, which at least back half of this acknowledges maybe it's rhetorical, but how does lowering arrearages protect other rate payers? Rates have significantly increased across the board for residents and businesses. Will lowering arrearage rates cause any impact on rates paid to customers? So posing those there as you think about, how do you want to weave those into what you've got here, and then what we ultimately want to hear back from the group.
Okay, well, I think this is the last slide. So let me just close this out, and then I'm happy to at least address one of the two questions. But again, we kind of just wanted to end it with, our ongoing goal here is to continually reduce disconnections. And for me personally, I'd really love to reframe it from it's a failure to more of it's a learning opportunity. I think we've made a lot of progress over the years, and I don't want that to be missed in, again, we focus a lot on it is a small customer base that does end up being disconnected. And I'm not saying that's not an area to put focus, but I also don't want to overshadow the successes that we've had in preventing a great deal of customers reaching disconnection. So we've made a lot of progress. I think we've seen, even just post-COVID, we've seen a reduction in our disconnections. I think our targeted programs are showing to be very successful. And then we have ongoing things that are still a work in progress, things like our language access plan. Some of our focus areas, we'll continue to evaluate any persistent barriers. Those may be barriers within just our assistance programs. Those may be barriers in reaching customers. We will enhance our outreach and engagement. I think we have some opportunity with events, some print and digital mailing that goes out to customers, and then of course, boots on the ground. And then kind of just thinking through customizing some approaches. I think one size doesn't fit all when it comes to customers that may be facing disconnection and become past due. So I will weave in, I think I can answer Dennis's question a bit. So hearing about resets. So we don't necessarily say that it is a reset, but yes, when a customer is disconnected for non-payment, that account is closed. That account is then final billed, and we have an entire outreach process on that as well. And then if that final bill goes unpaid, we also have a collection process for accounts that are written off. But as far as when the account is disconnected for non-payment, once that customer does initiate their reconnection and they are reconnected under a brand new account. It does start at 0. And again, as I mentioned earlier, there's no fees assessed at this time for customers either.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. So what I want to do is we want to take these questions and move into discussion. Just from by way of a formatting and sort of from a sensitivity standpoint, we're going to move this to sort of a closed session discussion, which all that means is that we're going to go into a breakout room that Ariam's going to prompt. Nicole will be in there. We'll all be in there. So it'll look and feel very similar to what we're doing now. But we'll be able to sort of continue our questions in that space. So if Ariam, if you can just get Okay. Thanks everyone for bearing with the like one space to another. It was intentionally a closed session for that part of that conversation. So we're at time if you need to jump and would like to, please do so. Otherwise, as Em acknowledged, if you have a desire to see that you'd like to continue this conversation and want to participate or able to participate Friday at the lunch hour, please let that be known. If you want to participate but are not available, please let that be known. Or if you feel like you're good, that's also helpful. So feel free to use the chat. We can stay on a couple of minutes. You can email. I don't need to drag us too much longer, but I just want to give folks the chance to state what their preferences are. And like I said, if you're like, I'm totally good and you want to hop off, you can do that. But if you want to take a moment to write in the chat, we won't close the link yet.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I'm seeing your DMs and your messages in the full chat, so I appreciate that.
Okay. Ariane, why don't we leave it open for just like a couple more minutes, but we'll say thank you to Nicole, say thank you to other PSC staff. If you're still writing or want to chat and say anything, we'll hang on for a couple more minutes, but otherwise folks are free to go if they'd like. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation tonight. Bye.
Cool. All right. Thanks,
Cool.
Tomiko.
Thanks, Tomiko.
Cool. Okay. That's
right.
everyone.
Good
Cool.
night, everyone.
I'll follow up with you tomorrow, Nicole. Nobody outright DM'd me or asked for Friday, so I'll remind folks, but
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted. Thank you for being willing to do that.